President John took the contract, opened a drawer, and dropped it inside. "Now, what do you know about Nike Mercuries?" Hack blinked. "They're our latest product. I haven't actually seen a pair, but I heard they're great." The Johns smiled. "We started selling Mercuries 6 months ago. You know how many pairs we've shifted since then?" Hack shook his head. "They cost thousands of dollars a pair, but that wouldn't stop people from buying them. They were the hottest sneakers in the world." "1 million?" 200. 200 million? "No, 200 pairs.
"John here," the other John said, "pioneered the concept of marketing by refusing to sell any products. It drives the market insane."
"And now it's time to cash in. On Friday, we're going to dump 400,000 pairs on the market at $2.5 grand each."
"Which, since they cost us, what was it?"
85.
"Since they cost us 85 cents to manufacture, gives us a gross margin of around $1 billion.
He looked at Vice President John.
"It's a brilliant campaign."
"It's really just common sense," John said. "But here's the thing, Hack. If people realize every mall in the country's got Mercuries, we'll lose all that prestige we've worked so hard to build, am I right?"
"Yeah."
Hack hoped he sounded confident. He didn't really understand marketing. "So you know what we're going to do?" He shook his head. "We're going to shoot them," Vice President John said. "We're going to kill anyone who buys a pair." Silence.
"What?" Hack said. The other John said, "Well, not everyone, obviously. We figure we only have to plug... What did we decide? 5?
10, Vice President John said, "to be safe."
"Right. We take out 10 customers, make it look like ghetto kids, and we've got street cred coming out our asses. I bet we shift our inventory within 24 hours.
"I remember when you could always rely on those little street kids to pop a few people for the latest Nikes," Vice President John said. "Now people get mugged for Reeboks, for Adidas, for generics, for Christ's sake."
"The ghettos have no fashion sense anymore," the other John said. "I swear they'll wear anything."
"It's a disgrace. Anyway, Hack, I think you get the point. This is a groundbreaking campaign."
"Talk about edgy," the other John said. "This defines edgy."
Hack said. He swallowed.
"Isn't this kind of illegal?" "He wants to know if it's illegal," the other John said, amused. "You're a funny guy, Hack. Yes, it's illegal. Killing people without their consent, that's very illegal."
Vice President John said, "But the question is, what does it cost? Even if we get found out, we burn a few million on legal fees, we get fined a few million more. Bottom line, we're still way out in front."
Hack had a question he very much didn't want to ask. "So, this contract, what does it say I'll do?" The John beside him folded his hands. "Well, Hack, we've explained our business plan. What we want you to do is..."
"Execute it," Vice President John said.
Chapter 2. McDonald's. Until she stood in front of them, Haley didn't realize how many of her classmates were blonde. It was like a beach out there. She'd missed the trend. Haley would have to hot-foot it to a hairdresser after school.
"When you're ready," the teacher said.
She looked at her note cards and took a breath.
"Why I Love America," by Haley McDonald's. America is the greatest group of countries in the world because we have freedom. In countries like France, where the government isn't privatized, they still have to pay tax and do whatever the government says, which would really suck. In USA countries, we respect individual rights and let people do whatever they want."
The teacher jotted something in his folder. McDonald's-sponsored schools were cheap like that. At Pepsi schools, everyone had notebook computers. Also, their uniforms were much better. It was so hard to be cool with the golden arches on your back.
"Before USA countries abolished tax, if you didn't have a job, the government took money from working people and gave it to you. So, like, the more useless you were, the more money you got."
No response from her classmates. Even the teacher didn't smile. Haley was surprised. She thought that one was a crack-up.
But now America has all the best companies, and all the money because everyone works and the government can't spend money on stupid things, like advertising and elections and making new laws. They just stop people stealing or hurting each other, and everything else is taken care of by the private sector, which everyone knows is more efficient.
She looked at her notes. Yep, that was it.
Finally, I would like to say that America is the greatest group of countries in the world, and I am proud to live in the Australian territories of the USA.
A smattering of applause. It was the 8th talk this period. She guessed it was getting harder to work up enthusiasm for capitalism. Haley headed for her seat.
"Hold it," the teacher said. "I have questions."
"Oh," Haley said.
"Are there any positive aspects to tax?"
She relaxed. A gimme question.
"Some people say tax is good because it gives money to people who don't have any. But those people must be lazy or stupid. So why should they get other people's money? Obviously, the answer is no."
The teacher blinked. He made a note. That must have been an impressive answer, Haley thought.
"What about social justice?"
"What?"
"Is it fair that some people should be rich while others have nothing?"
She shifted from one foot to the other. She was just remembering. This teacher had a thing about poor people. He was always bringing them up.
Yeah, it's fair. Because if I study really hard for a test and get an A, and Emily doesn't and fails—"
Renewed interest from the class. Emily raised blonde eyebrows.
"Then it's not fair to take some of my marks and give them to her, is it?"
The teacher frowned. Haley felt a flash of panic.
"Another thing. In non-USA countries, they want everyone to be the same. So if your sister is born blind, then they blind you too, to make it even. But how unfair is that? I would much rather be an American than a European Union person."
She gave the class a big smile. They clapped, much more enthusiastically than before. She added hopefully,
"Is that all?"
"Yes, thank you." Relief. She started walking. A cute boy in the 3rd row winked at her. The teacher said,
"Although, Haley, they don't really blind you in non-USA countries."
Haley stopped.
"Well, that's kind of hypocritical, isn't it?"
The class cheered. The teacher opened his mouth, then shut it. Haley took her seat. Kick ass, she thought. She had aced this test. Chapter 3. The Police. Hack sat in traffic, biting his nails. This had not been a good day. He was beginning to think that visiting the marketing floor for a cup of water was the worst mistake he'd ever made. He turned into a side street and parked his Toyota. It rattled angrily and let loose a puff of black smoke. Hack really needed a new car. Maybe if this job paid off, he could move out of St. Kilda. He could get an apartment with some space, maybe some natural light. He shook his head angrily. What was he thinking? He wasn't going to shoot anyone, not even for a better apartment. He climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor and let himself in. Violet was sitting cross-legged on the living room floor with her notebook computer in her lap. Violet was his girlfriend. She was the only unemployed person he had ever met, not counting homeless people who asked him for money. She was an entrepreneur. Violet was probably going to be rich one day. She was smart and determined. Sometimes Hack wasn't sure why they were together. He dropped his briefcase and shrugged off his jacket. The table was littered with bills. Hack hadn't bargained very well in his last performance evaluation, and it was really biting him now.
"Violet? Can we talk? Is it important?"
"Yes." She frowned. Hack waited. Violet didn't like being disturbed during her work. She didn't like being disturbed at all. She was short and thin and had long brown hair, which made her look much more fragile than she was. "What's up?" He sat on the sofa.
"I did something stupid."
"Oh, Hack, not again." Hack had missed a couple of turnoffs on the way home lately. Last Tuesday, he'd gotten himself onto a premium road and eaten through $11 in tolls before he found an exit.
"No, something really stupid."
"What happened?"
"Well, I got offered some work, some marketing work. That's great. We could really use the extra money. And I signed a contract without reading it."
Pause. "Oh," Violet said.
"Well,